I'm Virginia Settery. I'm the curator of this show, Neither Road and I. It's narratives of refugee passage and identity. And it's a local story about the refugees who are now living in Wollongong, former refugees. And for the most part, we're looking at the local story. And it was really important as a part of the process of the exhibition to match these artists up with people in the community. The reason for doing that is to set up some workshops or engagements, conversations with people, finding out their narratives and responding to those narratives. So that's ink on paper.
Ink and liquid pencil and pencil.
Yeah, fantastic.
So a lot of, his issues are dealing with friends and family, but then he's got this historic sort of thing going on, like his traditions, and he really wants to speak English, but at home they really want to hang on to their traditional language.
But the idea with the profile at the back of the images is talking about how Australians understand refugees as a two-dimensional object, if you like, rather than being people. We read the headlines, we listen to the news, and we've got a very flat perspective on these people, and so what she's trying to do is to show us the flat perspective that we have, but then to come around the other side and actually to see these very realistic renderings, drawings of real people and their local people, and with a local story. The other important thing, as well as having a real variety of different backgrounds from the artist, is to have a really large variety of artworks. Such as Dachi Dang, we're sitting in his wonderful boat at the moment, and he made this boat in response to his feelings about having travelled out from Vietnam.
And the reason I'm using those images is like to flick back the memories of the visual memories of my childhood when I was on the boat at that time in 1982. And what I see is, like in the big ocean, it's an empty ocean. And then at the same time, when you walk inside the boat, they have other stories. The story about of the painful experience of the Vietnamese, like people when they lost their countries and they have to leave their homeland.
These two works are supposed to be disturbing, and I think they're quite successful in that. So this one is called Eat, the Gun and Spoon. And the other one is called Rest, and they set up a dialogue with each other. On one level, it talks about the refugee experience and can be read as a literal experience that many people do go through moments of torture and hardship, and that's why they've left their country. But also on a metaphorical level, it talks a little bit about giving on one hand but taking on the other hand. It's more of a political statement about how Australia treats refugees in that instance. I hope that it broadens a dialogue. I really think that a lot of people are afraid or hesitant to talk about this issue openly, and I think we do need to talk about that. From a media point of view, it makes better news to only tell that sensationalist side, and in some ways I suspect that that's connected with politics, and that they prefer for us to be quite frightened of this situation, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. And it is much more complex, and it's personal, and it's human. And I think that the politics only continues to work in keeping everyone frightened of this situation if we don't tell that side of the story. If we don't realise that they're human beings and they have a personal story and they have richness to bring to Australia. They have skills, they have knowledge, they have a breadth of humanity that's, it's very valuable.
I'm a refugee. I was born in Iran. We did the whole trip, and we came to Australia through UNHCR to Sydney, and then my parents moved to Kiama, to this coastal town, and I found the school, the community so racist. I found the concept of other so apparent in this community. I was the other. When I was making this board game, it was a conceptual piece. I wanted it to have a visual kind of thing, but really, the game is functional. There'll be characters, there'll be chance cards. In each chance card, there's, it equates to what happens in real life. Like the average life expectancy of Vida, who's in Afghanistan, is 44. So she dies at 44. So I wanted this inequality to be made really accessible to someone that isn't aware of these issues, these global issues. Because I think that once we all start having this conversation, once the discourse is about the injustice, slowly the social consciousness will make changes. But if we're not aware, then all we have is guilt, and we just block that off. That's what happens over there. That's their politics. Not realizing that we're playing a game that enables this injustice to continue.